Welcome back, YouTube. Welcome back to the tube. Today, we doing a little bit something different. Today, you don't remember the last video I did reacting to What If Luffy, right? Today, I doing one of my favorite new gen anime, My Hero Academia, but I'm looking at the new spinoff, the Vigilantes, and I haven't watched it yet, so I trying to get it explained, see who the characters is, and yeah, catch a vibe and see how it goes. So the video is every vigilante in My Hero Academia Vigilantes fully explained. So let's hop in, enjoy, let's go.
The Crawler. At the start of the story, Koichi Himawari is a college student who works part-time. He wanted to become a pro hero, but thinks his quirk is too limited, and also missed the exam because he was saving a kid from drowning. As a baby, he was able to slide and levitate in the air, until his mother kept using her quirk to stop it and made him forget it was possible. So he starts doing good deeds for people in his neighborhood to deal with frustration. Then gets involved with Pop Step and Knuckle Duster, becoming a full-fledged vigilante, hunting those who use Trigger to enhance their quirks. Meeting Ingenium, Tenya's older brother, helps Koichi get a better grasp of his movement and nearly a pro hero gig until Tensei finds out that he's a vigilante. Later, he has the misfortune of being saved by Stental when the hardening quirk villain returns to beat him up. But he doesn't know the danger until later, and despite having problems with Soga initially, Koichi ends up being on the side when he
So this is Deku Part 2, but I see him dress up as All Might. Either he is Deku Part 2 or Deku, because I see this, you have a junior, either his older brother, so they have to be way before My Hero. So this is supposed to be the prequel. So Deku is part 2 of him, basically. So yeah. Anyway, let's get back into the video right now.
realizes that his new idol is a vigilante that killed. His life changes further when he meets Suguchi's sister, Makoto, in college, becoming his first friend there. Thanks to her polygraph quirk, she almost gets him to reveal that he's a vigilante, but it doesn't stop him from slowly pushing the limits of his quirk. After Knuckle Duster disappears, Koichi tries to do solo work, but the new, more powerful villains are too much for him. Koichi discovers a new trick he names Wall Cling, which lets him stick to walls, evidently, but also creates another move called Scrappy Thrust Style for more offense. With these new skills, he manages to protect Captain Celebrity from a bomber with constant projectiles. And when the
So he basically a Spider-Man. Well, you have some of Spider-Man traits, but not all of them. You have different perks to his quirk. So he basically is Spider-Man plus another hero, because some of his abilities are like Spider-Man. That's what I say. Anyway, let's get back into the video.
pro heroes falling to his death, Koichi moves out to save him. After these 3 years of training, the Crawler uses another move called Slap Style and Double Shooty Go Blam, both allowing him to fight back. But at this point, Koichi intends to stop once he gets a real job. Before he can retire, Crawler has to help Kazuho when she gets controlled by bees. This leads him to creating more intense skills like a speed boost called Extra Oomph, the Knuckle Style, and also a way to coat his body to protect broken bones. After successfully saving Pop Step and fighting number 6, Koichi ends up being recruited by Captain Celebrity, who covers for his vigilantism by claiming that he's a sidekick. He becomes a pro hero named Skycrawler in New York City since he's not trusted in Japan anymore. But eventually he has to return. Koichi is sent to Japan to help with the final war against All For One and his army of villains, but he's also there to help rebuild when it's all over. Pop Step. Kazuho Hanayama has been dreaming of being an idol since she was young, and began performing unofficially in the streets of Naruhata to decent success. By chance, she comes across Koichi and Knuckle Duster when villains show up in their area and no heroes are around. Coincidentally, she's the reason that Koichi missed his hero course exam, but he thought that she was a young boy drowning. After an incident with a crazed fan who took Trigger to become stronger, Kazuho meets another fan who turns out to be a villain with control of bees. Kazuho often provides support or information for the two others, like during the Stental issue, she later arrives with first aid for them. Her leap quirk allows her to bounce around and fall from great heights, so long as she's jumped beforehand, and she hasn't really trained it offensively. She also spends a lot of time at Koichi's home, so her real identity and idle ones aren't revealed to anyone else. Kazuho only reveals her name to him once she meets his mother, who came to visit. As her popularity grows, she gets an invitation to join a group called the Featherhats, which includes her, a set of twins, a dance squad, and a band. She practices for a festival performance with them, and she shows her true talent when she needs to entertain the crowd during a villain-caused blackout. After being saved from a rampaging mech suit in another city, she returns to join a mixer. It turns out to be a cover for Midnight.
Why every show of any name is Blackout? Why every time? Because I think in Harry Nature movie, the villain of that movie name is Blackout. I don't know why they do that every time. I guess that's just an easy villain name anyone can come up with. Anyway, I get back into it.
Find who's spreading Trigger among young people. Later on, Kazuho's invited to a going-away party for Captain Celebrity at the Sky Egg, but the event gets attacked by a villain called Number 6, who sends bombers to kill the attendees, if not for All Might's arrival. After Makoto leaves the country, Kazuho's group of performers start to decline in popularity, and their new manager announces that it's their last festival. But the manager ends up being a villain who takes advantage of her broken heart too. This is when her life really takes a turn. Kazuho gets merged with Queen Bee, and becomes a temporary villain named Bee-Pop under Number 6's control. Not only is she causing harm through a swarm of bees, but it ruins her reputation as an idol and vigilante. As the control starts to break and she regains herself, she gets shot by Number 6 for ruining his plan. This leads to her being saved by Koichi at midnight to bring her to the hospital for emergency surgery. Even while unconscious, she becomes a target for Number 6 again and has to be saved from being killed off. With her health getting worse, Midnight finally revives Kazuho and she wakes up at last. What Number 6 did to Kazuho has long-term effects on her body, like not being able to leap as much and her eye being injured from removing Queen Bee. Still, she stays in contact with Koichi while he's away in the US with Captain Celebrity. Knuckle Duster. This scruffy man's real name is Iwao Oguro, but he goes by many aliases. He previously had a quirk and was a reliable speedy pro hero called O'Clock in Japan and Hyper Quad Fist in China. He worked with the police as more of a detective-type villain fighter. On one such mission, he goes into an underground fighting ring to catch trigger supplies and ends up against Rappa, the brawler who fought Fat Gum in Kirishima in Season 4 of My Hero. But Mirko, under another name, crashes in to break it all up. O'Clock saves her from a quirk stealing gas and rampaging people inside. A hooded man takes over, with a mist that helps him escape when Mirko gets All Might to come help them take care of this mess. From that, O'Clock realizes that he's better suited to investigation than combat, and decides to get companions to help him. He unfortunately ends up facing All for One when he enters a building and gets his quirk stolen before he can even fight back, losing his career, getting a scar, and drowning himself in alcohol. Iwao's daughter leaves home when he disregards her dreams and insults her friends. After that, and likely because of it, his wife ends up in the hospital and unable to communicate anymore. Trying to find his daughter leads Knuckle Duster into vigilante work and the hunt for Trigger and the bees controlling her. Even though he seems like a rough guy, when he first met Koichi while drunk, he was much worse. But he was moved by Koichi's kindness for someone that he didn't know, and decided to sober up and soften his ways. Somewhat. Knuckle Duster returns with more control and better methods, and that's when he gets involved with Koichi and Kazuho. He works with them and explains the trigger issue in Naruhata, and never mentions his personal life and the reasons. Later on, Knuckle Duster warns Koichi about his vigilante idol, Stental, but he doesn't listen. Of course, he has to save Crawler and Soga from deadly attacks, and he beats Stendhal up while trying to talk sense into him about resolve. And when Knuckle Duster gets temporarily paralyzed, Stental agrees and leaves on a different path. Back on track, Knuckle Duster continues research on the Bee user, with Soga Soga working as an aide to him. After months of investigation, Iwao finally faces the one responsible for harming his daughter, the fake pop step fan called Queen. Meanwhile, his wife takes a turn for the worse in the hospital. Knuckle Duster defeats the villain and saves his daughter, but arrives at the hospital to find out that he's lost his wife. So he leaves vigilante work for a bit, his brass knuckles at Koichi's apartment. Actually, he just goes to Hong Kong to investigate Trigger's source there instead. Knuckle Duster also discovers number 6, who calls himself O'Clock 2, and then he has his quirk now, implying a direct link to All for One. Number 6 wants to be a successor to him, but Knuckle Duster just wants him dead for all the harm that he's caused. Iwao disappears again after the extremely dangerous and brutal fight, with some believing that he's dead. Still, he made sure to leave a message with Soga for Koichi beforehand so that he wouldn't lose hope. When he returns, Knuckle Duster has an injured knee and eye, and prepares for round 2 with number 6. The villain has turned himself into a living bomb, difficult to touch without major injury. He relies on sheer will and power to keep him back, but even that's not enough. If not for Soga restarting his heart with the taser that doubles as a defibrillator, he wouldn't have survived. After recovering, Knuckle Duster's back on the streets, dealing with the villains as he was in the start. So you know the delinquent trio from the beginning of the story? Soga Kugisaki, Rap Tokage, Moyuro Tochi are their names. They actually become vigilantes of their own, thanks to their admiration of Knuckle Duster. Soga especially ends up helping and working with Koichi during the big events and offering support against deadly villains. He even helps Koichi evade heroes when he gets concerned at times. Kind of like Pop Step, they help out at crucial moments, such as when Knuckle Duster's heart stops, and against number 6 terrorizing people with explosions and bees. They're also a loyal group, despite being judged by their appearance and past actions. Not unlike what we see happen in the main series, with many kind people turned villains, like Twice, Lady Dagant, and Gentle Criminal. And lastly, a personal favorite, Stental. Now you may have already guessed who he was by his fight with Knuckle Duster, but I'll save the reveal until the end for those who didn't. A young Stental, orphaned, originally wanted to be a hero, and even got into the hero course. But he disliked thoughts of his peers only focused on fame and money. So he left school and got into vigilantism to get rid of villains in a less official way. Although he starts out just catching villains and leaving them for the police, he eventually becomes more extreme. He chases down criminals and kills those he deems too dangerous to be kept around. This only gets worse when he's tasked with eliminating anyone who was an instant villain thanks to Trigger. That's when Koichi steps in to stop Stental, no longer admiring his ways, but he can't hold a candle to the man who's trained in combat from early on. On the other hand, Stental gets brutally beaten by Knuckle Duster, whom he admires, and chooses to cut off his nose and stop wearing a mask to pursue hero hunting instead. I'm sure you've guessed it by now. Yes, Stental, former vigilante, becomes the infamous hero killer Stain, and his real name is Chizome Akaguro. We can skip all the main series stuff because I'm sure you all remember his fight against Izuku. But what's important is that he returns to being a vigilante during the prison breakup to keep villains from escaping and causing crimes. And later, he helps All Might survive since he's the only hero he completely trusts, and ends up losing his life to All for One, knowing he deserves to die for his own crimes. And that is all of the vigilantes in My Hero Academia Vigilantes Explained. If you liked the video, guys, please give it a like, and please subscribe if you haven't already. Have a great day, and I'll see you in the next one.
Like, wow. Okay. Like, vigilante tough from what I see so far. And I ain't gonna really, like, I don't know when I'm gonna watch it, but I really want to watch it. But anyway, please like and subscribe and comment down below what you want to see next. See y'all next time. I'm out. Peace.
This word shall know pain. Almighty mercy.